The room was dark and quiet. A soft hum came from the walls, the sound of machines working in the background. On a metal bed, the human soldier, Eli Grant, slowly opened his eyes. His body felt heavy. His head throbbed with pain. The last thing he remembered was an explosion. And fire. He looked around confused. This was not a hospital. It looked like a private room, but it wasn't his. The walls were smooth and gray, the lights low. There were no doctors, no nurses, no noise from other patients. Then he saw her, a girl, not human. She was sitting on the floor next to his bed. Her skin was light blue, glowing softly in the dark. Long silver hair fell over her shoulders. She wore a simple cloth dress, and her wrists were bound with glowing cuffs, chains. Her eyes, large, violet, and shining, watched him carefully. She didn't move, she didn't speak. Eli blinked. Who are you?" The girl lowered her head. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "I am your reward for bravery in battle." "What?" Eli pushed himself up slowly, his body protesting. "What are you talking about?" She did not answer. He noticed her arms shaking. She wasn't cold. She was scared. He looked again at the glowing cuffs on her wrists and ankles. "Who put those on you?" Still, she stayed quiet. Her fingers clutched the edge of her dress tightly. Eli's heart pounded. Something was wrong. Then the door opened. A tall man in a black uniform stepped in. He smiled at Eli. Double quotes. "Ah, you're awake, soldier. Congratulations, you survived the score ambush. Impressive work. You killed 12 enemies and saved the supply caravan. Command is very pleased." Eli narrowed his eyes. "Where am I?" "You're at Station E9, a private recovery room for elite soldiers like you. And as a token of thanks..." The man nodded toward the alien girl. "She is yours now." Eli stared at him. "What the hell do you mean, mine?" The officer's smile widened. "A gift. The alien you see was captured during the raid. She's harmless, trained, and completely obedient. Consider her company during your healing." Eli looked back at the girl. Her shoulders were trembling now. "I don't want her," Eli said sharply. "I didn't fight for a slave." "She's not registered as a slave," the officer replied smoothly. "She's a classified asset. Refusing her would be complicated." "I don't care. Let her go." The officer frowned slightly. "That wouldn't be wise, soldier. You've earned her. Just enjoy your time and rest. That's an order." The door closed behind him. Silence. Eli turned back to the girl. She hadn't moved. "What's your name?" he asked, softer this time. She looked up at him slowly. "Kari. How old are you?" "I don't know how you measure age, but I am grown." He nodded. "Kari. Did they hurt you?" She hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. Eli sighed and sat back. His body ached, but his mind raced. What kind of people give living beings as gifts? What kind of system allows this? He reached out slowly. "I'm not going to hurt you. I don't want anything from you. Do you understand?" Kari looked at his hand. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then, slowly she reached out and touched his fingers. Her skin was cold. Her hands were shaking. Eli gently squeezed her hand. "You're safe here, I promise." Kari's lips trembled. They said, "If I disobey, I'll be punished." "Not by me," Eli said. "Never by me." She blinked fast, tears forming in her eyes. "I don't know what they did to you," he said, voice calm. "But I'll find a way to free you. You're not a gift, you're a person." Kari looked at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she nodded. Outside the room, security cameras blinked red. Somebody was watching. Somebody didn't like what they saw, and deep inside the base, a new file was added to a hidden folder. Subject refuses to use asset. May be a threat. Monitor closely. *. The lights flickered that night. Somewhere deep in the walls, something buzzed like a quiet warning no one could hear. Eli couldn't sleep. He lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, while Kari sat silently on the floor beside him. She hadn't moved in hours. No sound, no requests, no complaints. She just waited, like she was used to being ignored, like she thought she didn't matter. Eli sat up slowly and looked at her. "Kari," he said, "you don't have to sit there all night." She glanced at him, but didn't speak. Her eyes were wide, like a small animal caught in a trap. "I mean it," Eli said. "You can sit on the bed if you want. Or take the chair. You don't have to act like furniture." She lowered her head. He sighed. "I'm not going to bite you." Still no response. Eli stood and walked to the small food dispenser on the wall. He got a warm pack of synth meal and 2 cups of water. He sat down on the floor beside her and offered the meal. "Kar." I looked at it, unsure. "It's not poisoned," he said with a soft grin. "Tastes like cardboard, but it'll keep you alive." She slowly took it from his hands. "But she didn't eat. Not yet. Do they never feed you?" He asked gently. "I only eat when allowed," she whispered. "Allowed? By who?" "The ones who owned me before." "You." Eli flinched at the word. "I don't own you," he said. "You're not a thing." Kari blinked. "Then, what am I to you?" He paused. She had asked it without emotion, as if she really didn't. "No." He answered. "You're a person, just like me. You have a name. You feel fear. You feel pain. That makes you real." Kari looked down at her hands. She finally took a small bite. For a moment, they sat in silence, side by side. Then, she asked something he didn't expect. "Will you return me?" Eli's heart skipped a beat. "Return you? To who?" "To them, when you no longer want me." They said, "No one keeps us long." "No," he said quickly. "I don't want them near you again." She looked confused. "Why?" "Because you're not safe with them." Kari stared at him like she didn't believe anyone could care. Then she slowly pulled up the sleeve of her arm. Eli's jaw clenched. Her skin was scarred. Small burns. Thin whip lines. Old and new. "I tried to run once," she said softly. "They said I was lucky they didn't erase my mind." Eli felt a deep anger rise inside him. He looked around the room, suddenly aware that cameras might be watching, listening, recording. He lowered his voice. "Kari, listen carefully. Tomorrow, I'm going to request a transfer. Somewhere outside this station. We'll leave this place." Her eyes widened. "Together? If you want," he said. "You'll be free, but we'll have to move carefully." She was quiet for a long time, then she whispered, "You're different." Eli smiled sadly. "No, I'm just human." Kari smiled, just barely. But outside the room, in the shadows of the hallway, a dark figure stood watching the monitor screen. "She's opening up," the voice said into a comms link. "The soldier is changing her. He might turn her against us." A cold reply came back. "Then prepare the command. If the human won't use her, we'll take her back." Kari laughed in her sleep. It was soft like the sound of wind touching water. Eli, still half awake, turned his head. He hadn't heard her laugh before. Not once, not even a small smile in her voice, but this was different. She was dreaming. And for a moment, she looked peaceful, free. Then suddenly, her body jerked. Her arms wrapped around herself. Her lips moved fast, whispering in her alien language. "No," she mumbled. "No, please, not again." Eli rushed to her side. "Kari, wake up, it's just a dream." She opened her eyes in panic, gasping for breath. Her cuffs glowed faintly, reacting to her fear. Her hands trembled. He knelt in front of her. "You're safe. It's over. No one is going to hurt you here." Kari stared at him. Her face slowly relaxed, but then, her eyes filled with tears. "No one has ever said that to me," she whispered. Eli reached out and gently wiped the tear from her cheek. You've been treated like a tool, but I see a person. Kari looked down. I don't know how to be a person anymore. Then we'll figure it out together, he said. That morning, Eli unlocked the food dispenser again, but this time he let her choose what to eat. She hesitated, confused, but eventually picked a fruit cube and some warm tea. They sat at the tiny table, not as soldier and property, but like two strangers trying to learn trust. I want to ask something, Eli said, but only if you're okay with it. Kari nodded. What were you before all this? Kari blinked slowly. Before? Before they captured you. She thought for a while, then spoke. I was a singer. In the crystal towers of Varellon. My voice helped plants grow. My songs helped heal. But then the invaders came. They burned the towers. They took the women first, especially those who sang. Eli clenched his jaw. And now? He asked. They call me Asset, but inside. She paused. I still remember the songs. Eli leaned closer. Then you're not broken. You're alive. And more than they think. Kari met his eyes. He meant it. And for the first time she believed it. But outside the room, the officers had noticed the change. She's bonding with the human, said one, watching the security feed. She's not responding like the others. Break the bond, another replied coldly. We don't need her thinking she's anything but a product. Later that night, as Eli helped Kari learn how to unseal her cuffs, a sharp alarm suddenly rang. Red lights flashed. The door burst open. Armed guards stormed in, and one of them shouted, Step away from the Asset, soldier. This is no longer your concern. Blood. Eli saw blood in his hands again. He wasn't holding anyone. There was no wound. No scream, but it was there, red, wet, real. He blinked hard and looked. Down. His hands were clean. It was just the memory, the one that wouldn't leave him alone. One he had buried deep after the Score ambush. He stood alone in the dark shower unit, water pouring over him like rain. But the water couldn't wash the images away. Explosions, screaming men, fire swallowing the sky, and that one final order. Leave them. Save the supply corps. He had left them. His brothers. To die. That was the mission. That was the cost. And now, someone had paid him with a living being. He punched the wall. Hard. The metal didn't care, but his knuckles bled. Outside the shower, Kari sat quietly on the bed. She didn't ask where he went. She didn't move when she heard the sound of his fist. But her eyes were locked on the door, full of worry. When Eli finally returned, dressed and quiet, she spoke first. You carry ghosts. He looked at her. You scream at night, she added. But not with your voice. Your mind screams. Eli sat beside her. I remember my last mission, he said. Too well. I was told to protect the supplies, not the men. So I followed orders, and I lived. She gently touched his bandaged hand. And now, he said bitterly, they give me you, like a toy. Like something I earned for letting others die. Kari didn't answer at first. Then she said, you still have your heart. That makes you richer than them. Those words hit him harder than any bullet. Just then, his datapad lit up. Incoming message. Private file access. Level red. He hesitated. Something about the alert didn't feel normal. It wasn't from command. It was masked, like someone wanted him to see it. Secretly. He opened it. A video played. It showed a holding cell. Kari barely clothed, bruised, chained. A voice in the video. Asset 913. Keep her pretty. The human will obey if he finds her useful. Another voice laughed. And if he doesn't, we erase both. Eli's jaw clenched. His hand gripped the screen until it cracked. Kari saw the rage in his face. What is it? You were never a reward, he said. You were bait. A test. They wanted to see if I'd become like them. He looked up, eyes burning. I won't. Kari's lip trembled. Then, what happens now? Eli stood up, voice low but full of steel. Now I find out who planned this. And I burn the system that did this to you. But outside their room, the door's lock blinked red. Someone was listening, and that someone had just pressed a silent alarm. Asterisk. The air felt thicker that morning. Not hot. Not cold. Just wrong. Eli knew that feeling. The same feeling he got before. An ambush, before something exploded. Before death walked into the room. He opened his eyes and didn't move. Kari was already awake, sitting at the edge of the bed, still. Too still. She whispered without turning. They watched us all night. Eli sat up slowly. You felt it too? She nodded. I hear things, even when no one speaks. It's part of what they wanted to break in me. Eli stood and moved to the wall. The blinking panel near the door, the security lock, was yellow. It was always green before. Yellow meant partial lockdown. They were being isolated. Eli turned back. Kari, we're leaving. Now. But the guards, I know. He opened his locker and pulled out his combat bag. Inside, hidden behind a layer of socks, was a small foldable pistol, non-lethal, but strong enough to knock a soldier down. He tossed Kari a gray cloak. Wear this. Keep your face low. We're going to blend in and walk out like nothing's wrong. Kari hesitated. I've never walked free in public. Eli looked at her. Then today will be your first time. They moved fast. Out the door, down the hallway. The cameras tracked them, but Eli walked like he had somewhere to be. Confident. Calm. Not fleeing. But inside, his pulse was racing. Every corner felt like a trap. They passed 2 guards. Morning. Sergeant, one said. Eli nodded, didn't stop. Kari stayed silent, her head down. They reached the central platform where shuttles came in and out. 2 exits. One up to command. One down to the civilian docks. They chose down, but just as they stepped onto the lift, an alarm chirped behind them. A voice echoed through the station. Security alert. Asset 913 has left designated area without clearance. Eli cursed under his breath. They know. Kari grabbed his arm. They put something inside me. He stared at her. What? She pulled back her sleeve, showed him a faint scar behind her elbow. A tracker, she said. Deep under the skin. The lift shook as it moved. Eli looked at the numbers flashing on the panel. They had 30 seconds. He pulled out a field knife from his belt and looked her in the eyes. This is going to hurt, but it's the only way we disappear. Kari nodded once. Brave. He cut in, fast, cleaned out her teeth clenched. But she didn't scream. The small chip dropped into his hand, glowing faint blue. Eli crushed it under his boot. Just as the doors opened. Guards were already flooding the platform above them, but they were now ghosts, invisible to the scan. Kari leaned on him, weak from the cut. But she whispered, I'm okay. Eli helped her into a civilian ship hangar, walking past workers and traders. Behind them, the alarms still rang, but they didn't stop, not anymore, because they weren't just running. They were choosing to live. Asterisk space looked peaceful from a window. Stars blinked gently. Planets floated in silence, but inside the small cargo ship tearing through the outer ring of Station E9, nothing was peaceful. Eli gripped the controls hard, sweat dripping from his brow. Kari sat behind him, pale and trembling, holding a bandage to the fresh cut on her arm, the one where the tracker used to be. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. They both knew what was coming next. And then it hit. Boom. A shockwave slammed into their side. The first hunter drone had arrived. Eli cursed and pulled the ship sharply to the left. Sparks flew from the control panel. Kari screamed as gravity shifted, her body thrown against the wall. Hold on, Eli shouted. They're not letting us go without a fight. Kari crawled back to the front. They'll keep coming. They don't stop until the target is cold. How many? She hesitated. 9 drones, 3 manned ships. And a scout-class hunter. That one never misses. Eli's heart pounded. Wonderful. Another blast shook the ship. They weren't just chasing him for breaking a rule. They were chasing him because he had taken something powerful. Someone they didn't want alive. And she was sitting right beside him. Kari's voice was low. I can disable one of them, but I need to be close. You mean outside this ship? She nodded. Double quotes. No way, Eli growled. You're injured. I was born to survive, she whispered. Let me fight. Eli looked into her glowing violet eyes, not weak, not a broken, not a slave. She was fire. Waiting to burn, he made a choice. Okay, he said. We get close. You get 1 shot. Kari smiled for the first time. It was real. They flew toward a moon's shadow. The drones followed, scanning, locking in. Kari stood at the hatch, her hands glowing faintly, her voice humming low. It was the beginning of a song not meant to heal this time. As the drone passed overhead, Eli opened the hatch. Kari stepped into the wind of space, body shielded by a thin barrier of alien energy. She looked at the drone and sang. The sound was silent to humans, but the drone twisted, blinked, then burst like a dying star. Eli whooped, "Nice hit!" But Kari collapsed. He pulled her back inside as alarms rang again. More enemies incoming. This wasn't over. But now they knew something the hunters didn't. Kari wasn't running anymore. She was fighting back. Asterisk. The stars were on fire. At least that's how it looked from the mountain ridge where Eli stood watching the sky above the dark moon of Varn-6. Light up with chasing flames. Ships. Explosions. Smoke trails, cutting through the silence of space. None of that mattered now. Behind him, inside a cave lit only by flickering blue crystals, Kari lay unconscious, her body weak from the energy she used. He had wrapped her in his jacket, held her, hand. Waited. But he couldn't wait forever. They were coming. The hunter ships. The ones that never missed. Eli checked the pulse, weapon in his hand. Just 2 charges. Left. 1 for him. 1 for Kari, if it came to that. But then, her eyes fluttered open. You stayed, she whispered. Eli leaned in. Of course I stayed. I thought you would leave me behind. I don't leave people behind, he said. Not anymore. Kari smiled weakly. Then you've already won. Suddenly, a rumble. Rocks fell from the cave ceiling. Eli grabbed his weapon. A large shadow moved outside the cave. Heavy footsteps. The hunter had landed. Eli helped Kari to her feet. She swayed but stood. He looked at her. Can you run? No, she said, steadying herself. But I can stand beside you. Together, they stepped out into the cold air. The hunter stood across the ridge, 10 feet tall, armor black as space, red visor glowing like a devil's eye. A voice echoed from the hunter's helmet. Return the asset, or both of you die. Kari squeezed Eli's hand. Eli raised his chin. She's not an asset. He stepped forward. And fired. The blast hit the hunter in the chest, but only made him stumble. The second shot missed. Empty. The hunter marched forward. Kari stepped in front of Eli. And began to sing again. But this time, her voice was louder. Stronger. Brighter than anything Eli had heard before. The ground shook. The crystals in the cave lit up. And the hunter stopped. Its armor cracked. Its lights dimmed. And then, with a final note, it exploded into dust. Silence followed. Eli ran to Kari as she fell to her knees. He caught her. Held her. She looked up at him, breathless. Am I free now? Eli nodded. Yes, Kari whispered. Then, so are you. A shuttle landed hours later. A rebel ship. Old allies of Eli. People he once trusted and now needed again. They welcomed him, and they welcomed her. No one asked if she was a reward. No one dared to call her slave. She was Kari, and she was his choice, not a prize, not property, but the person he would protect, even against the stars.